Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is Miho with the Too Close to Call podcast series, joined once again by my co-host Pags, and this is the Stream My Pod series.
Almost paradise, we're working on heaven's door.
What are you singing?
Hey, it's Bachelor in Paradise season, baby.
Oh my goodness gracious. They don't miss a beat in this Bachelorette world, man. 0 weeks off should be their new slogan.
Dude, no doubt. And they take their off season the perfect time in the fall.
Of course,
It's
right?
the fall.
They don't have that
it.
midweek show in between all the football for the chicks to cling on to?
No, bro, they freaking crank out Bachelor in Paradise Mondays and Tuesdays all the way up until football season starts, and then they're gone until January, and then that's when The Bachelor rolls out, and then you got Bachelorette mid-year, and then you got Bachelor in Paradise. They just keep cranking shit out.
I guess I understand that if Monday night's the night, so that makes more sense. I figured they just
For
earned
sure.
that Tuesday, Wednesday crowd.
Nope, they got our Mondays and Tuesdays, and we are already 4 episodes in on Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh, man. So we're going to have some good stuff to catch up on here.
For sure. And this is, everybody tries to be the Bachelor of Paradise because they want to sleep with as many people as possible. And that person this year is Blake, or Balake, as other people would call him.
Okay. Balake.
So Blake was the runner-up in Becca's season. Everybody loved him, blah, blah, blah. He comes into Paradise, and it's just a bunch of people from girls from different seasons, guys from different seasons who were not the winners come on, and they try to find love on this Paradise Island in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Oh, of course. So is there a game they play, or is it just kind of like a real-world Bachelor? Like, how do they set this up if there's no kind of one specific person?
So here's what happens. There's a bunch of people, bunch of guys, bunch of girls, and 1 week the guys get the roses. So there'll be 9 guys and, say, 12 girls. So they'll add a bunch of girls to the mix, and then they'll have a rose ceremony after the first week, and they will narrow it down. And then the next week, the girls have the roses, and then they'll bring extra guys in, and basically guys will get date cards, and they'll try to take girls on dates and see if they have any connection there, anything like that. And pretty much people couple up, and the couples that couple up towards the end, they can either propose or keep being boyfriend, girlfriend, and see how it is after Paradise, blah, blah, blah.
So how many couples tend to end up out of these things?
The first time I ever watched the show, there was a guy, girl named Jade and a guy named Tanner. They actually are married with 2 kids now. And then the next season, there was Carly and I forget the other guy's name, but they ended up getting married and they have a kid. And then this past season, there was another couple that just got married.
So it sounds like there's one a year here.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have a couple proposals, but then it won't work out. But normally one actually sticks. I think this is a better chance of you than you dating a ton of people. You're like, oh, you're pretty cool. Let's see how this goes. And then by the end, you go to the real world. And if it works out, great.
That's why everybody's trying to be on this show here, huh?
No doubt. So Blake, Becca's season, he was the darling. He comes in and automatically takes Tayshia, who was the runner-up in Colton's season, on a date. So they go on a date, they make out, blah, blah, blah. Then Kaylin shows up, who is from Colton's season. She comes out and says, well, 3 weeks ago, Blake and me had sex at some music festival. And then Christina shows up, and she goes, oh, me and Blake had sex the night before at the music festival with Kaylin. So this dude, Blake, has had sex with half of people in Paradise already.
That should be some good conversation behind the scenes.
Oh, no doubt. This dude turned in, and he's just, you could tell he's just worried about how he's going to look on this shit. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The one girl, he told her, he's like, that was a mistake, us having sex. You need to keep it quiet. And where better to spill your dirty laundry than on live television?
In Paradise.
Yeah, no doubt.
Interesting. So
Blake
who you
Stein,
rooting
though,
for here? What do we have moving forward? Are there teams we should be pulling for? How should I feel?
Dylan is, everybody loves Dylan. He is like infatuated with Hannah G, who was the other runner-up in Colton's season, because Colton had a million runner-ups. And they connected, but now Hannah is spending half the day with Dylan making out with him and half the day with Blake making out with him. And it turns out that Blake came and visited her in Alabama before Paradise. So there's all this shit going on. Jordan, who got engaged last year, he's back because his shit didn't work out. Now he's calling Blake out on his shit, and it actually ended with a cliffhanger the last episode. Clay Harbor, do you remember that name?
I do, yeah. Tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, tight end for the Eagles. He is on the show, and he is invested in this girl named, I forget her name, some Spanish chick, and he has a great connection with her. Well, this other Spanish guy comes on, Christian. He starts hooking up with her. So now there's a battle between those two, and Jordan stuck his head in the middle, and now it ended with a fist fight, but they cut it out with to be continued. So a lot of shit happening on Bachelor in Paradise right now.
Coming in hot. Tune in next week to see who gets knocked the hell out.
No doubt. It's like UFC out there, baby.
Let's go. We're physically fighting for these chicks.
Yeah, man. But good stuff. The only reason to watch The Bachelor, Bachelorette is because of Bachelor in Paradise, because crazy shit always happens. It's awesome.
There you go. I dig that, man. I dig that. And I think you said Mondays and Tuesdays. So the
Correct.
reason I'm not watching it is because Tuesday is now Hard Knocks night.
Hey, that's not an excuse. Bachelor in Paradise is 8 to 10, and then Hard Knocks is on at 10, big boy.
Oh, let's go. Yeah, just post up for 3 hours every
No
Tuesday. Look at you working hard for the listeners.
I'm grinding, baby, grinding. I almost fell asleep during Hard Knocks on Tuesday, but I made it through.
Yeah, we've had 2 episodes of Hard Knocks this far, and we opened up the first one with Jon Gruden's speech, man. That man's not into dreams, brother. Chucky wants him some nightmares.
And their fucking dreams make it a nightmare.
That was good stuff, dude. I don't know. What I'm seeing from Gruden, especially out of the first couple episodes, he may not be the best coach, man, but he can still motivate people.
Not to jump ahead to episode 2, but when he goes, we need more execution. We need more fucking execution. It was like, whoa, John, just fucking turning a switch there.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of guy I'm all for, man. And even in episode 1 with the gentleman from Last Chance U, who decided not to show up for treatment in the one morning, and John was pretty much like, dude, if you don't want to be here, get the fuck out. And I was like, hell yeah, man. See, that's me as a coach. Like, I tell you to go to treatment, you don't go, we'll see ya.
Yeah, Ollie pretty much you've learned that he didn't learn anything from when he was at Last Chance U. He's his same self back at with the Raiders now. So it's not surprising to me that when he was like, yo, something bothering me, I got to get taken out.
Yeah, I don't know how you do something like that and then skip treatment on top of it. You were just asking for the pink slip there, man. But
no doubt.
What was your take on the interaction with John Abram? You know, after he popped the guy in shorts or whatever, Gruden kind of took him aside, and there was a little bit of back and forth there. Some people thought, you know, maybe Gruden should have shut the guy up a little bit more. Others thought it was great letting him kind of, you know, say what was on his mind. So what was your take there with that interaction?
Well, if it's coaching me, it's shut the fuck up. That's exactly what I would be like. He kept having an answer for his answer, and that's the thing that drives me nuts most as being a coach. Let me tell you what you're doing wrong. Don't fucking answer me before I even ask the question. Yeah, I was getting a little annoyed. If I was Gruden, I would have told him to shut the hell up.
I think I'm with you there a little bit. You could see on his face that is what he was saying, but with all the cameras, he just couldn't light him up right away to be like, man, this is just going to blow up into something I don't want it to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're going to get people hurt by going and throwing people to the ground when you're just in helmets. I mean, you need to learn how to practice. I remember from high school to college, nobody hits the ground. I was like, what do you mean? It's practice. Like, we're going hard. Like, no, you need to learn how to practice properly. It's like, oh. And I imagine the NFL is even higher than that.
Yeah, and the other interesting storyline was the Derek Carr story that they're trying to push, very much so, as he's my quarterback. Him and Gruden get along extremely well. There's no tension. There's no way I tried to trade him. Let's build this from the start. He was quoted as saying, like, I don't care what you did before. This is you and I in year one, and we're going to grow it from here. And what's your take on DC overall as a whole, man, as a quarterback there, and kind of, what we've seen behind the scenes thus far?
I think he's a good guy. He kind of puts off this persona that he's trying to be this tough guy, and I don't know if that's him. I don't know if he's putting on a show. He seems like he's portraying to be a great dad, which I have no reason to think otherwise. He seems like a good guy. I just don't know if he has that edge to him that some quarterbacks need. I thought it was hilarious when he came up to the OC and was like, hey, day one install is like the entire freaking playbook. They're like, hey, just imagine you're not going to have to learn anything new when it gets later in the year.
Yeah, you had all these months to study. What the hell do you mean it's the whole book? Of course it's the whole goddamn book.
Yeah. I hear that Gruden's, it's not all Spider Y bananas, but dude,
Spider 2 Y banana. Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
What was your take on AB? In the first episode, what was your take on that guy?
Well, the timing obviously was no longer coincidental that I think it was that Monday or even that Tuesday morning we finally find out that he's got frostbite on his feet, and that's why he's not practicing, because it was featured in the freaking show that night. So I was like, okay, they're not going to let it come out on HBO that this is going on. They had to get in front of it a little bit, and he released the picture that morning, I think it was, before the show came out, and I just, dude, what a jackass. I mean, you get in these cryo chambers. I've talked to people who have gone in them, athletes who have done them, and you get mittens, you get, slippers, you have all the protective gear because he literally frostbit his feet, dude. He literally killed all of the skin on his feet, and it now has to, regrow from scratch. And like they were saying, you can't rush it in any way or you're just going to fuck up your entire foot.
It was disgusting looking at his feet. Oh my God, I was freaking grossed out. I was having a nice little night snack, and all right, if I don't ever want to be hungry again, all I have to do is look at a picture of AB's feet. They're freaking disgusting.
Yeah, that's going to be tricky when it comes to week one because, like they said, cracking the skin and the bubbles forming under it, man, you got to stay off those bad boys. And then you have the BS with his helmet floating around in episode 2 there. And what's your take on the helmets? I mean, I understand from the NFL's perspective that the 10-year rule, technology, this, that, and the third, but part of me also thinks that it's 2019 and these guys are totally aware of what's going on to their bodies, and if the guy wants to wear an old helmet, let him wear an old helmet. That's, right. Create a waiver or something to let him sign it, but, he knows the ramifications of his actions at this point.
That was what I was going to get at. I mean, have him sign a waiver. I completely get it from AB, that your helmet is your helmet. Those things are so freaking uncomfortable, and you have to wear a new helmet in there. I completely understand where he's coming from, but I also understand the NFL's side to it. Sign a waiver, something like that. Let the guy wear his freaking helmet, but obviously that's not going to happen, and he's just going to have to get used to another helmet.
Yeah, it's just the NFL, man. There's zero tolerance for kind of anything when it comes to their dumb rules, whether it's marijuana or alcohol and that type of thing. And, Golden Tate trying to have a family and he's failing steroid tests. Well, sorry, bro, your body, whatever. But, other things are just kind of without getting into specifics, like Tyreek Hill and shit like that, just nothing happened. So it's just tough, man, with the NFL. You just have no idea if they're going to be lenient or they're not, or why the hell certain things are happening for certain reasons. So AB, I guess, found a very similar helmet that's 9 years old instead of 11, and he's pretty much going to try to wear the same damn thing and play the system that way.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to go, man. This NFL, it is freaking ridiculous about the Tyreek Hill shit, and then Zeke gets 6 times when he does 6 games when he really was just acting like an idiot. It's pretty wild, man. What the NFL, if they don't have evidence, they're not doing anything. But hey, that helmet's not safe. You're not wearing it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying there? It's just, man, come on. A couple of different things there with the Shield and everything going on. But Hard Knocks so far through 2 episodes. Overall, man, a little slow, a little kind of, nothing crazy going on. I mean, I know they had the joint practices with the Rams, so it was cool to see Sean McVay. I had no idea that Gruden helped him out back in the day, back in Tampa.
Yeah, he was like, oh, yeah, that guy was our piss boy for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's coaching the receivers. It was like, whoa.
All I kept thinking was that our boy Joe Brady's going to be that guy in a couple of years. And it's like, yeah, you remember when you were the shit boy at William & Mary or Penn State or whatever the hell you were doing?
Dude, that's the first thought that popped in my head as well. I was like, that could be Brady or DJ or whoever. It would be awesome.
It would be awesome, man. So it was cool to see just him right out of college there and now being a little bit more established and running the show, man. But what's your take overall through 2 episodes? How do you think HBO's doing here? Because they're trying to bounce back from a down last season at Game of Thrones, so a sour taste.
I don't know, man. I'm torn because, like, the AB stuff, obviously you have to run it. I just feel like he swallows up so much of the time. We're just listening to him fucking talk to the camera every time, and I'm like, I want to see the things. I want to see the guy from Eastern Michigan that breaks his wrist and goes back in the game. I kind of like the deeper shit that you see with Hard Knocks, like the AB stuff. I can just fucking watch on ESPN. I want to see the camp battles, the guys that are long shots to make the team and potentially make the team. That's the shit that keeps me intrigued after the preseason games are done.
So you're telling me you want to see more Nathan Peterman moving forward?
There you go. Who do you got in that, Peterman or Glennon?
I think it's got to be Glennon, but as a Pitt guy, I'm rooting for Peterman. What the hell? I mean, who cares? But apparently they're both not very good.
No doubt. If Derek Carr goes down, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle, man. But you could say that for almost 30 out of the 32 teams. Hell, in Philly, you could say that right now. So
right.
We shall see. But the last thing I caught stream-wise here, and it was actually on YouTube, and I'm not sure why it was on YouTube and not Netflix or one of these other, streaming providers, but it was a stand-up comedy based on, I don't even know how to really explain it, but it's a puppet, man. You know how you've seen Jeff Dunham? He does like the puppet thing. Well, this guy's under the table and has the puppet above the table, so all you can see is the puppet, and he's purple, and his name is Randy Feltface. Have you ever heard of this guy?
I have not.
It's kind of crazy, man. I came across him on some iFunnies, some minute or 2 clips, and started diving into him. And the reason he's hilarious is because he's Australian, and he's really vulgar, dude. So this puppet is just making fun of everybody and being vulgar, and you can't see the guy. And I think it's similar to like a Family Guy vibe where you can get away with almost a little bit more because you're not, quote-unquote, a human saying what's going on, and just some of his takes, dude, are outlandish and just hilarious.
Oh, man, I got to check that shit out. What's it on YouTube?
Let's see. It was on YouTube, and it's called Randy Writes a Novel. It's gotten just about 2.5 million views. So people know who this guy is, and basically the premise is he wrote a novel. And as a comedian, you get instant reaction on whether or not your joke's funny. Like the crowd laughs or they don't. But when you write a book, you don't know how the crowd's going to take it. And because flavor or books or music, it can be so individualized. He wants to read it out loud before he prints 1 million copies, and he ends up selling none of them. And just some of the chapters and sections he reads are hilarious and horrible and funny. And, he's like, oh, that's good, that's bad. And just the way he does it is hysterical because he screams, he doesn't scream, he talks low, and it's just, he's basically like, okay, guys, fixate your eyes on me because I'm going to move from this part of the stage, and he moves a foot to his right, to this part of the stage, and he moves back 2 feet to his left. And he's like, that's it, motherfuckers.
That's great.
Yeah, little stuff like that where it's like it shouldn't be hilarious, but just his delivery and how he displays it is hysterical. So if you want to laugh, man, it's about an hour. Type in Randy Writes a Novel on YouTube, and you can watch it with the kid because he's young enough to not know what he's saying yet, and he'll still think it's a puppet, so he'll think it's hilarious.
Oh, great. Yep. Definitely doing that later tonight.
Oh, for sure, man. But so what do we got? Is that it? Did you check out anything else? Any other stream hits popping up?
Haven't seen much. I'm excited for Ballers season 4 coming back out. The Rock.
Yeah, that's the end of this month, isn't it?
Yeah, the end of the month. It's usually right around football, so I'll catch that on a Monday afternoon after the whole football games are over on Sunday.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to that. HBO, dude. When I threw on Hard Knocks on my HBO To Go account, all of a sudden they showed like what's coming. HBO is throwing about 50 shows at you in 2020, and it's going to be wild.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. You'll have to keep us updated on what's coming down the, what is it, the pipe or the pike?
Pipeline?
Coming down the pipe?
Pipe, yeah, sure.
Or are you coming down the turnpike? Coming down the pipe?
Either one.
Both of them.
Either
You think
one
both of
works,
them work?
Yes. I would say pipe, but yeah, sure, pipe too.
Well, you guys out there, call the hotline. Let us know if you're coming down the pike or you're coming down the pipe.
Exactly. Let's figure this pipe shit out.
Yeah, let's figure it out. Let us know. Comment on the Instagram post. Follow us, Too Close to Call Cast, everywhere you are. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And we'll see you guys down the pike pipe next week.
Amen to that, brother. We'll talk to you guys next week. Later.
Peace.